All righty, we are finally here. We're not that late, but hey, at least we're still here. So this is the first show for October the 4th, 2023. This is the Gridiron Gurus presented by Sportsbattle. So I'm your host, Shawn Stewart, alongside my co-host, Mr. Scotty William. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing good, my friend. How about you?
I'm doing great. So, well, I do have a couple of great news that I have to share with you. So, the last time we did our show, you were perfect. So you got all your picks correct. That's number
Nice.
one.
Yeah.
And I got an update. So right now, since this is week 5, so in week 6, the game has been there's a game that has been flexed. So the Lions and the Buccaneers was originally to be scheduled at 125, and now that's been flexed to 425. So more likely that will be game of the week.
Okay.
So because Fox is doing a doubleheader, so and the great thing is both of those teams lead their division. So it does make sense for that game to be game of the week. So so I expect most of the country will carry that game than the Philadelphia Eagles and New York Jets.
Interesting.
Right. I mean, that's the right decision to do that, if you think
Yeah,
about it.
I wish they could have done that for tomorrow night's game and
Oh yes.
found a better. You got the Bears Commanders tomorrow night. I mean, I love
Oh god.
football, but I'll tell you something. I don't know if that's the big game to watch.
Exactly. And also the NFL's regional TV map is on the Sports for America YouTube channel. So we also welcome those that are listening on Twitter as well. Now, if you do have any questions that you want to ask, feel free to put it in the comment below. Okay, so we're going to recap week 4 of the NFL, but man, I don't know where to start. I mean, you had the Cowboys beating the Patriots, they only scored 3, and then you had the Seattle Seahawks just putting the beat down on Daniel Jones. I mean, it was so bad. It was like 10 sacks. And that should tell you how bad the offensive line for the Giants. I mean, and then you got to forget about the Chicago Bears blowing a 21-point lead against Denver. I mean, that past weekend was really crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think, in my own opinion, maybe this is the week. Last week, the Broncos click. You know, they with Sean Payton, they haven't been playing well. Maybe that was the week that they needed to. That maybe you might see a resurgence of Russell Wilson in Denver. I mean, we can always hope, especially from a fantasy
Right.
perspective. Yeah. So I mean, like the Bears, I just the Bears are the Bears, man. They're going to probably be the worst team and probably have the first pick of the draft at the end of the year.
And I did see something on Twitter. So if the season were to be over, Chicago would have the first and the second round pick.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But I and before the season even started, I think everybody thought that Arizona was going to be the worst team alongside with Houston, but it looks like Houston's winning more than one game because they beat Pittsburgh. But it seems to me like right now, as we're looking at the season winding down, it looks like the Bears are going to be tanking for real. And like this team is so bad, I don't even know they're going to win 7 games.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's been a weird football season thus far. You know, uh, I know you were talking about the Bears, but if you look at the Falcons, they're looking like they may be benching Desmond Ritter.
And I'm looking at the Falcons right now because the Jaguars had a 2 week stint in London because Calvin really got back, by the way, because he had like one of 2 receptions, 2 catches for 38 yards and a touchdown, which is 11.8, by the way. And then you got Trevor Lawrence had like 270 passing yards, a touchdown, and 4 rushing yards. So that's like 16 and a half. And then Christian Kirk led with receivers with 16.4 points off his 8 catches for 84 yards. So, and we talked about this, the AFC South is not that good anyway. So I expect Jacksonville to win that division. But I wasn't surprised at the way the Falcons played. Let's be honest.
Yeah, Bijan went off for 105 yards, so he's still showing that he could be a good focal point for that offense for sure. Uh, Surprising if you had Jonnu Smith. He seems to be kind of like a guy that kind of comes out of the blue as a tight end, and he went for 6 for 95. Drake London, we're still waiting on him to be that elite receiver that we think he can be. He was 3 for 28, did score a touchdown, but I'll tell you what, the surprising receiver that really was really hyped up as coming out of the draft last year, Kyle Pitts. He has not shown anything, and I just don't understand it. They thought, they were saying that maybe when he was coming out last year, they could move him to a receiver because he was that good, but he still hasn't been able to put up anything.
And then there was another one that was also disappointing because I had him last year as well, is Joe Mixon. I mean, I'm glad I did not put Joe Mixon into my starting line because I would have been very disappointed. He's one of those, and it's not just him. You also look at a couple of Bengals wide receivers; they're also disappointing as well. So this is like, if you're a fantasy owner, if you got the Bengals, you're thinking like, this team should be better than this.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I mean, to be honest with you, the Bengals have just been a team where I did not expect this at all from them. They're sitting at 1-3. Tennessee, the team they lost to last week, they're kind of surprising, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and if you had Derrick Henry, you're happy as well because he finally scored a touchdown. By the way.
Yeah. Definitely Derrick Henry's a guy, rushed for 122 yards on 22 carries. And D-Hop kind of got into that game. He was 4 for 63. Didn't get the scores, but he's kind of another guy that's a home run or bust fantasy wise.
And then you also got to look at the Buffalo Bills because they almost put up like 50 points because Josh Allen had like 320 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in the air. Stephon Diggs had 3 of Allen's touchdown passes. And I liked it. And then there was one play that he caught the ball and then he juked those 2 defenders. I thought that was like the coolest move I ever saw this year so far.
Yeah.
I was the edge off my bed when I saw that. It was almost like you watching street football.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? This almost makes you wonder if this is that game that takes Buffalo to the next level. Miami, that's definitely a division win against Miami. They needed that. Miami really didn't look that great, so it makes you wonder if they're going to kind of coming down to earth a little bit.
Exactly, because that was like they're one of 2 games, and then the next, because I know the next time will be in Miami. So the first game was in Buffalo, the next game was in Miami. And then you also look at the Rams, by the way. Oh, my goodness. I mean, the Rams running game, I got to say, because you had Kyron Williams, because he had like 27.7 points, because he had 103 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 catches for 24 yards. Because he was on fire against that Colts D-line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a weird fantasy football season thus far. It really has. I mean, when you look at different teams and how they played, honestly, when you think about it, nobody has been consistent week in, week out, coming in the first 4 weeks. And, and we talked about it on the last Gridiron Gurus that, I felt that it was going to start after the 4th game, maybe the 5th game. You're going to start seeing where all these teams kind of fall and how they are, because, a lot of these players, they're getting their legs underneath them and, So I think what you're seeing is some of these teams finally coming into their own. Uh, Bucks are a surprising team to me.
I
You
was
know,
ready to say that because Baker Mayfield had 246 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Chris Godwin had a 414, although he didn't have no touchdown, though. But at least he got 19.4 points. So that's
yeah.
not bad. But and one thing I don't like about the Buccaneers is that they don't have a running game. That's what I'm worried about if you're the Buccaneers. But they got receivers. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised with Baker Mayfield. I never thought he was a horrible quarterback. I thought he was more of a middle of the road kind of guy. But Chris Godwin, I mean, when you have receivers like Godwin and Evans, obviously Evans hurt, but Godwin is to me is just as good as Mike Evans, and he's proven to be that kind of a guy. Yeah, and the Bucks got a good defense, so I mean that helps out.
That saves Ty Bowles' job because he was on the hot seat before the season even started because they was wondering like this defense is getting work. The defense was not that good last year, but it seems to me like since because of those wins and leading the South, look like his job is safe as of right now.
Yeah. I mean, the South is for anybody's taken, to be honest with you. I mean, the Saints have really not looked good, which is kind of surprising. Alvin Kamara, his first game back, played pretty well. When you don't have your starting quarterback in Derek Carr, that kind of hurts you. But they've been very inconsistent. They've been very inconsistent.
And then I also looked at the Eagles and the Washington game because I was watching both games on YouTube TV with the multi-view. Jalen Hurts had 319 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And then you also look at A.J. Brown, 475 yards and 2 touchdowns. So the WR1 of the week was 38.5 points. So Devontae Smith, although he didn't score a touchdown, 40 points, but he caught like 78 yards out of those 7 catches. So at least he did well, and it could have been an upset. Washington could have put an upset, but Eagles once again they still undefeated.
Yeah, I mean the Commanders are definitely a team that is on the rise. If you ask me, there's some holes there, but they got a great defense. If you're in an IDP league, Cameron Curl's a guy that'll put up consistent points for you each week. Cody Barton is also showing some life, and Emmanuel Forbes Jr., just to name a few. But and then Chase Young is kind of getting his feet. He was a first round draft pick, and has had some issues with injuries, but this is a defense that's going to keep them in ball games, and definitely defense is what wins football games, and I think that's what's keeping Washington in the game. And Sam Howell's played well. I don't know about you, but I don't think anybody was drafting Sam Howell in the first 4 or 5 rounds of their fantasy.
No, I don't think so. And then I also talked about the Texans. Now, CJ Stroud, he had 12 100 200 yards in his first 4 weeks. So that's very special because he put up 306 yards and 2 touchdowns this week. So that's like 21. That's very impressive for rookies because he fed Nico Collins for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. And wow, I got to tell you, man. And I said this before, like the Texans are not that bad. It's just like they need some more pieces to the puzzle. That's why I look at the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, Dameon Pierce is a guy that really lit up the fantasy world last year. He's kind of been struggling to get going, but hey, they're still giving him the ball to run. 24 for 81 yards. You want to see more from him. Stroud obviously, kind of shocked people a little bit yesterday. On Sunday. But I'll tell you, it's good to see CJ Stroud do that. It's nice to see Nico Collins, a former Michigan player, grab 168 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Dalton Schultz, a former Cowboy, also grabbed the tight end also grabbed a touchdown. So this is
Touchdown, yeah.
this is and their defense is pretty decent too. Yeah.
Right. And if they keep this up, they may be competitive against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I remember before the show even started, we said it was either going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Titans. So right now, it's still early, but it seems to me like because if you remember this year, I know the Texans beat the Jaguars this year, just in case people didn't know that.
Yeah, like I said, it's just been a lot of inconsistencies. The Jaguars look good, and then they don't look good, and Texans, they're going to be a team that's going to be hot and cold. I'm not 100%. Speaking of that game, I'm not really digging the Steelers at all. Najee Harris really hasn't done much, especially if he was a guy that you targeted in your fantasy league at running back. He has not held up anything in the first 4 weeks. Actually, the guy to kind of look out for is Jaylen Warren. He's not only getting some carries on the ground, but he's also he had 6 receptions the other day for 28 yards. So he's kind of like been that running back that can catch it out of the backfield and run. And I'm not real high on Kenny Pickett. I know he's young. I know he got hurt. Mitch Trubisky came in, but there's just a whole lot with the Steelers. I know they are what they are. But it makes you wonder. What they're going to do. I mean, they have a good defense. I'm just shocked that they haven't really put it all together. I mean, TJ Watt is great. Quan Alexander is a good linebacker. Keanu Neal. He used to play for Atlanta. He's done well. Minka Fitzpatrick. So there's a lot of pieces on that defense, but so if you're targeting some players in your IDP league, definitely go for some Steeler players.
And then there was also a scare between the Raiders and Chargers because the Raiders were on the verge of winning that game, but unfortunately, they blew that game against the Chargers, by the way. So the Chargers did miss Austin Eckler, that's for sure, as Joshua Kelly and his 3.8 yards per carry didn't move the needle the game. So Keenan Allen came back down to earth this week because he catched 3 passes for 32 yards and a touchdown. He did score 12 points, even though he had 3 catches. Herbert had 167 yards and a touchdown, scored 23.3 points thanks to that 2 goal line rushing touchdown. So that was a nice for Herbert, by the way. But this is another team I'm very scared of. It's the LA Chargers because you don't know what type of Chargers team you're going to look at, especially when it's fourth quarter wise. But I'm glad they pulled it out right now. And by the way, who's the coordinator? It is Kellen Moore's the coordinator for the Chargers. So they're kind of like in and out. That's what I look at the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert, he's been inconsistent. The Chargers have been kind of inconsistent all year so far in the first 4 weeks, 2-2. Losing Michael Williams, but honestly, I don't think that's a huge loss for them because Michael Williams couldn't stay healthy the first couple of seasons he's played. So that's not, I
a big deal.
I perceive them hopefully getting Quentin Johnston more involved. I think he's more of the heir apparent there. Joshua Palmer, he was another guy that I know a lot of people probably didn't target fantasy wise, but he's showing that he's kind of the guy that Justin Herbert's been going to. He was 3 for 77. Joshua Kelly, they just haven't been able to find a guy to take the place of Austin Eckler, and Joshua Kelly has just kind of put up duds the last couple of weeks. So if you're an Austin Eckler guy, I know you're hoping that he comes back sooner than later.
And this guy will probably be one of the best players that played this past weekend, which was Christian McCaffrey. 106 rushing yards, 71 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah,
And I
no
said to
surprise.
myself, this guy
Yeah,
MVP.
yep, I agree with you, man. Christian McCaffrey has just been on fire, but you almost kind of cross your fingers and hold your breath every week that he holds up.
And I wanted to ask you this question, because I was saying about the Cowboys in the Patriots game. So I know the Patriots is not doing as well because like we said, we thought the Patriots not going to do well. Do you think this season may be the end of Bill Belichick after this season? Because I can't imagine seeing Bill Belichick as a head coach after this season, because this season has been a disaster, especially on offense.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mac Jones really hasn't been playing well. He showed flashes, but he hasn't really done much this year at all. Uh, Ramondre Stevenson, he hasn't done what everybody thought he was gonna do, so to speak. And you have a Zeke Elliott that hasn't done anything for them. Not surprising that the Cowboys won this game. There's really not. And here's the thing: Mac Jones really doesn't have anybody to throw to. I mean, nobody on this team. When you look at the receivers, Devontae Parker, he's inconsistent. Juju Smith-Schuster, he's inconsistent. And it's hard to get. It's really hard to get consistency in that offense, and especially with the way Mac Jones is playing. So yeah, I could see Bill Belichick maybe retiring this year. I think what you're seeing with Bill Belichick though is he might not be that elite coach that everybody thinks he was, because he hasn't done anything since Tom Brady left.
And he's a couple of wins away of getting Don Shula's record, but it seems like that meant more like it will not happen, in my opinion. It would have been nice though, but it seems like that's more like it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say New England decides to part ways with Belichick. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a team out there that wants to take a flyer on him. I mean, shoot. I mean, you see teams like the Bears, they could be looking for a head coach, and maybe Belichick could be that guy to fit there. I don't know, because I can't see them giving up on Justin Fields this quick. And I don't blame Justin Fields' troubles all on Justin Fields. I just think he's had some bad coaching.
Right. And there's a rumor that the coach of USC may look at that gig. From what I'm hearing, the rumors of Lincoln Riley. That's the rumor I'm hearing for the past 2 or 3 days.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I could see maybe if he wanted it, if USC does fairly well, by the end of this college football season, maybe he wants to take a NFL job. I don't know. Would he? Could he be a savior in Chicago? I don't know, because there's a lot of pieces that they need.
No.
And especially on defense.
Exactly. And the thing is, Chicago got a lot of money in salary cap. They got a lot of money in salary cap, and plus, you don't know what they're gonna do in the NFL draft. Who they gonna pick?
Right. Yep. That is true.
Exactly. So yeah, we don't know how many head coaches is going to be fired, but as the weeks go by, we'll probably know like how many coaches will get fired. Okay, so and then also we talked about Daniel Jones, and I've said before the show even started, I was like, man, the Giants got to be looking stupid right now. Like, why do we give Daniel Jones this extension? But it's not just his fault, but it's that offensive line as well. I mean, that offensive line is so bad that none of the receivers, none of the running backs could even run through that. and
Yeah, and
Seattle
it does.
took that
Yeah,
advantage. So
and it doesn't help that you don't have your top running back in Saquon Barkley. They haven't been the same since he went down with that high ankle sprain. Matt Breida, he showed some flashes for San Francisco last year, but he's just not. He's not an elite running back, and they haven't been able to get anything together. They're just kind of. It just I don't know. Sterling Sharp, he showed flashes in the past. He hasn't done anything. Darren Waller's been a big disappointment for them. Darius Slayton, who
right,
was a high draft pick, he hasn't done anything. They're saying Wandale Robinson you could probably see him do more or be involved more. But hey, if Jones can't get him the ball, there's not much he's not going to be able to do for any of these receivers.
wow, that is pretty pathetic. Okay, now we got week 4 out the way, and now we got to talk about tomorrow's game. And me and you will more likely will not watch this game because more likely I will watch the baseball game tomorrow. I
Yeah,
swear, I'm like this, man. I'm more
MLB
than up,
playoffs, baby.
I swear to you.
Yeah, I I can't. This Bears Commanders game.
Exactly.
Yeah, this Bears Commanders game. You're right. I think I'm gonna take a flyer on baseball. But hey, you never know. I who are the winners? I know this is a football show, but I'll tell you what. Baseball might be pretty much over wild card. If what I'm seeing is, let me see, because I know the Texans were up in that.
I think Texas won today. Texas
They
won
did.
today.
So that series is over. Best of 3.
Right.
Um, and I think
The
there was
Twins
some other.
won. So
You said
Twins
you said
won. So Twins won. They won the series.
that series is over.
So
And then
right. So
uh,
right. So right now the Diamondbacks and the Brewers, Diamondbacks are leading 4-2 on the top of the 6th. So if the Diamondbacks win, they win the series, and then Philadelphia's up 2-0 against the Marlins. So if they win, so more likely probably be Diamondbacks and Phillies advancing. So
yeah, yep,
dang it.
I know. So that means no baseball tomorrow. It might mean no base. So we might
Right.
have to watch this crappy Commanders game.
God. Or probably watch MLB on ABC on YouTube or something. Classic episodes. Whatever. No. Old school. But so tomorrow is the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders, also known as the Redskins. So for those of you who want to know, Washington's favored by 6.5. The total is 44.5. So as you know about Chicago, they are slow and they like to run the ball, as well as the Bears have the 4th slowest neutral pace and the 5th highest neutral rushing rate, according to Fantasy Pros. So when I look at Justin Fields, by the way, I'm just worried about, is he going to throw the ball as he should? Because there are times like he'll like have the ball way too long. You know what I mean? And that's my issue with Justin Fields. So the Commanders have not been a shutdown pass defense, as they have allowed the 11th highest yards per attempt and 13th highest passer rating to passers while getting gassed by deep passing against deep throwers. And Washington has the 6th highest passer rating, most deep passing yards, and 8th highest deep adjusted completion rates allowed. So Justin Fields has been money this year, by the way, as he has the 3rd highest deep passing game, the most deep passing touchdowns, which is tied, and the 5th highest deep adjusted completion rate. So that could look like he could have a field day. Because like I said, if it was a Sunday, it'd be a different time. But with Thursday night football, you don't know who's gonna put up much.
Yeah, that is true. That's very true.
And then you also got to look at Brian Robinson, because he is the leading back at least 52% of the snaps in those 3 out of the last 4 games, because he's averaged like 16.6 touches and 79.1 total yards.
Right.
Is there any people that you like? Any players that you like in this game? Because it's not too many, except for those two I could think of.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right on that. It's kind of when you look at it, it's like,
Man.
what in the world is going on here? Player wise,
Well,
let's see. Um, yeah, I think defense. If you're an IDP guy, this would be a good time to maybe grab some Washington Commander players if they're still available in your league. Chase Young, uh, you know, they got some. They have some good defensive players. The Commanders do. Maybe even go after a guy like Cameron Curl, which I said earlier tonight. Cody Barton, Emmanuel Forbes Jr., Jamin Davis. These guys can give you some points. Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen. So if you have things riding on your league in IDP, this might be a good game to get some points against a Bears offense that can't seem to get things going.
and then I also got to look at Cole Kmet. And then I also look at Cole Kmet, see how many receptions he's going to have with this Bears offense. That's the other thing. Because I know he did have a great week in week 4.
You said that I didn't hear what you. Oh, Cole Kmet. Yeah, he. Yeah, I mean, he's obviously the safety valve for Justin Fields. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he. They're gonna. I think they're gonna be definitely throwing the ball this game, which, you know,
Cole
funnier
Kmet.
thing. Yeah, funnier things have happened though. I mean, you know, we might see a game where maybe something clicks for the Bears and they get it ends up being a good game. I don't know. I would stay away from everybody on offense for
And then
both
you
of
also
those
look
teams.
at right, and I can't even count DJ Chark because I told you I've been saying this for 4 years. DJ Chark is nowhere near a top wide receiver. He is not. He is not.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Panthers, they're another team that is struggling at 0-4. Um, they're not the same team, obviously, since they've had Christian McCaffrey. Bryce Young's been struggling, and they just haven't been able to put things together. What's the line on that Detroit
So
Lions game?
last time I checked, it was a 8.5, and I'm seeing some 8.5s and some 9s,
Okay.
which is not bad. It's not bad. That seems about right.
Yeah.
Right, because usually lines don't stop until Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time.
Right.
Exactly. So, since we got that out the way, there are some waivers. By the way, I'm looking at James Williams. I'm looking at him. I'm also looking at Joshua Palmer. By the way, the wide receiver. Then you also got Same Pernier, if I'm saying his name right. Samaje
Samash
Pernier,
Perrin. Yep.
Peri. Okay. And then also you got Tyler Boyd, Romeo Dubes, Jake Ferguson, the tight end. He's been putting up some numbers, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So because right now, since it's Wednesday, you might as well pick certain players up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all those guys you listed are pretty decent. The pickups if you need somebody in there.
And then I also looked at somebody earlier, by the way, of the waivers. CJ Stroud, he's actually a top waiver wire pickup, by the way, because the second overall pick just posted his third consecutive game of his over 20 fantasy points. So I'm looking at it right now. So if you're struggling with the consistency of someone like a Joe Burrow or Trevor Lawrence, more likely you're going to have to get C.J. Stroud.
Yeah. C.J. Stroud could be a guy. It just depends on how many players are in your league. C.J. Stroud probably is a guy that is available.
Exactly. And then I also look at Jaleel McLaughlin, the running back of the Broncos, and looks like 1% of people, according to Football Network, it's like 1% of people have him on the roster. That's kind of shocking. 1%.
Right. Yeah, I think something's been breaking up here, Sean.
I don't know if you heard about
it. I didn't hear you. It's kind of lagging a little bit.
Okay. I was saying Jaleel McLaughlin, the running back for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely a guy that definitely a guy that you can definitely pick up, especially he played pretty well last week, but we're talking about a Bears defense. But if you need somebody to pick up in to fill in for Javonte Williams, he might be the guy to do.
Right. And then I'm looking at on Arizona, I'm looking at Michael Wilson because it looks like he looked like he's officially a wide receiver too for the Cardinals. You know what I mean? Because he did caught 7 of his targets for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns. So this was 1 week after he caught 2 balls for 86 yards. So he could be another player that you could also look at if you're looking for a wide receiver.
That is true. That's a good pickup.
Now, is there a player that any player, like it don't matter what position, is there a player that you are not confident in week 5?
I'm going to say maybe a Pakua Nakua, because there is rumor that Cooper Kupp could be coming back, and I know that he's kind of been the guy. But if Cooper Kupp comes back, he's kind of Pakua has been the guy to fill that slot. Not to say that I think they're going to work Cooper Kupp back slowly, but if he does play, he could take away some receptions from Pakua.
And that will and if that does happen, then you know that more likely Bakua is not going to get as much catches as he should, because that's Matthew Stafford's favorite target is Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
So and then I'm looking at if there was a person that I would say I would probably stay avoid is, I would probably say, as I'm looking through it, I would probably say Najee Harris against this Baltimore Ravens team.
Yeah, I would stay away.
Like you're saying, that offense, Ravens, you're more likely going to stay away. This is not going to be. This does not look good, because I have a great feeling that Baltimore's defense is going to run all over the Steelers' offensive line. That's how bad the Steelers' offensive line is.
I agree with you. I'm sorry if I'm coming. I'm having a hard time hearing you, Shawnee.
Okay.
I think there's just.
All right, how about now? Can you hear me loud and clear?
I think it's just a delay. There's some kind of delay.
Okay. I think that's what happened. Is it's a delay. And then I also look at another one. It's another one I was looking at. I think Miles Sanders is not going to do well against the Lions.
Yeah, I would stay away.
The Lions' defense is. Because, man, Carolina's running game is like, not too good. then I'm looking at the kickers. I'm looking at the kickers right now. Because if there's a delay, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for it because sometimes stuff like this happens. So we apologize for the delay. If I'm looking at a kicker right now, I actually got one of my kickers that's probably going to do well. It's probably Tyler Bass because they're going to face against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London. I can see him putting the performance because usually when it comes to kickers, I always say this about kickers. When it comes to kickers, I want my kicker to kick it deep. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because anybody can kick like a 30. Because anybody can kick a 30-yarder, but I wanted somebody that can kick like a 50 or 55-yard kick because that way you get more points. So I see Tyler Bass can get some more points against this Jacksonville Jaguars.
I still think there's a delay. It's hard keeping up with you because I feel like when I talk
It's not your
jumps
fault.
into you.
It's the system. It's not your fault.
Okay.
It's not your fault. It's the it's not your fault. It's the it's the service.
Okay.
Because I got the high signal, so it's the service. So that's
okay. Okay. Yeah, because I know I'm hard.
I was saying Tyler Bass.
Yeah.
Right. So I was saying Tyler Bass may have a great performance against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I heard you on that. Yep, absolutely. I think that's a kicker that you could utilize for sure.
Exactly. And then also I was looking at Jake. I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles as they face against the LA Rams. Because this is probably because I know Fox is doing a single header. So this is the game I will more likely will watch other than the Kansas City Chiefs and Minnesota Vikings game. Of course, NFC North, by the way, Minnesota Vikings. But when I look at this game, I'm like, the Eagles got much better defense than the Rams, but we don't know like if it's going to be a close game between these two. And I don't know how many yards is Jalen Hurts is going to have against this Rams defense.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm just. It's kind of.
Yes, I can hear you.
It's kind of crazy. You talking about Jalen Hurts? Did you hear anything that I said?
Yes, I was saying was like Jalen Hurts is going to face the LA Rams team, and I was saying like we don't know how many points that Jalen Hurts is going to put up against this Rams team.
Yeah, this is going to be. I think this might be a high scoring game. Yeah, I would just say I think he could probably get you about 30 points, easy.
Right, because he did like in the first 4 weeks, he still remained available in a little less than 40% on according to NFL.com fantasy leagues. By the way, that's Jake Elliott. But when I look at this team, it's like, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp can possibly come back, and then you got DeAndre Swift. I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to have that performance like he did last week. I think he'll probably take a step back in a little bit. You know what I mean? Because the Rams can't stop the running game. So we don't know, like, how well will DeAndre Swift will do, former Lion, by the way. So this could be, like you said, this could be like a high-scoring game between these two.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. That's probably going to be one of my games I want to watch.
Right. And then I also look at another one that could probably have a great performance is Brandon Ayuk against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, if you look at these two of these teams, their offense is way totally different. But I will say this, the 49ers got a better offense than the Dallas Cowboys. And my concern is, if you're the Cowboys, is how are you going to stop Christian McCaffrey? Because if the Cowboys defense can stop Christian McCaffrey, then it's going to be very hard for the Cowboys to win that game. Because right now the 49ers look like they're the best team, not only in the NFL, but outside of other than Philadelphia. But like this looks like it could be the Eagles and the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. That's what it looks like right now.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Because I am very concerned the Cowboys stopping Christian McCaffrey. I'm very concerned about that. But at least you got what's his name? The running back for the Cowboys. I think let me see if I can come back on, see what happens. Okay. Let me see if I can come back on real quick. Come on, you.
It might just be a bad feed there, buddy.
Okay. Yeah, it might be a bad feed because this is the first time this has ever happened in so far.
Hey, like Shawnee, why don't
this is not on our part
to quit giving? So our people listening in, why don't you just give them the rundown on the on what you want to do with the over and unders? Yeah, because I know it can be kind of a pain to watch this when it's in delay mode.
Right, because this is really because like I said, this is not on us. This is the system itself. Okay, so let's do the player props. So new Sportsbattle customers can download the Sportsbattle app on Google Play or on the Apple App Store. Use promo code EOTSRE27 to get an instant match deposit up to $100. So if you put 100, they give you 100 as well. All right. So we got your 3 player props. All right. So are you ready for the first one?
Let's do it.
All right. So, according to Sportsbattle, they believe that Terry McLaurin will have 59.5 receiving yards.
I will go over.
Okay. Cole Kmet, 3 receptions.
Over.
Okay. And then finally, Justin Fields, 244.5 passing and rushing yards combined.
I'll say over on that.
Wow, he's gonna go to over because it seems like to me like, man, how many? Like I said, this game doesn't even look that exciting. I would be surprised if he does get this over with the player props along with that rushing yards. Because if it was like that, just pass the yards by itself, I probably would have said under, especially with Washington's defense.
Yeah, but I think he's going to be throwing a lot, so that's why I'm going to say over.
All right. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the signals are up on our end, so it looks like more likely it's the system that's doing it. So we will see you guys next time, by the way, and I have a great feeling that more people are using the internet around this time anyway, so it wouldn't be surprising. So we will see you guys next week, and take care and enjoy your fantasy football. Thank you.